And to focus more on this, we are joined by Ms. Ayet Abdelaziz, the Researcher Director, the Egyptian Enterprise Center for Policies and Strategic Studies from Cairo. Welcome, Ms. Abdelaziz. Now, some reports are mentioned, actually, starvation and limited access to food as a means of displacement. How has this policy affected daily life and survival in Gaza?
Good afternoon. Thank you for your invitation. Of course, as you said, this impacts directly daily life for children, young women who are the most impacted. Many reports and indicators issued by UN organizations refer to the harm of the harmful impact on women and children of starvation policy. We can find that it also reached murder in the aid access lines. It's not only a bad civil daily living, but it's also murdering. It contributes greatly in Israel tries in this approach by forcing Palestinians on this on displacing to zones determined by Israel. Therefore, they are putting great pressure to do this.
And what does the division of Gaza into North Gaza and South Gaza signify in terms of Israeli policy, their vision, the strategy, and its effect on Palestinian residents? How are they responding? How are they taking the news?
Of course, the division itself is on the table from long time ago. It's not something new. It tries to eliminate any Palestinian hopes to go back to their previous residencies, whether in the north or the south. Even the division right now and the displacement and forcibly towards the south is an attempt to change the demographics of the strip. Therefore, it's an obstacle in front of any hope to go back to the north of the strip. Therefore, Israel tries to create a new reality to fulfill its goals and new plans pertaining to displacement, because as the previous plans failed, but they always have a lot in their sleeves. They have new faces, new multi-dimensional plans. We are talking about a humanitarian city as has been impacted with this. Therefore, we are talking about an attempt to forcibly displace Palestinians towards zones, big mass prisons forever, except for those who choose to willingly leave. So therefore, divisions are an integrated part of Israel's big plan for displacement. And we know, of course, that these plans until now, even inside Israel, has been faced with rejection and great criticism. Even international community and the internal community in Israel know that the division plans are impractical, unrealistic on many levels. On the economic level, the Israel budget will not be able to afford the cost of displacements, the displacement projects, because we are talking about the humanitarian city. For example, needs from $3 to $6 billion to be rebuilt, which is a huge number. Of course, Netanyahu is trying to pass this resolution to receive more funds. Therefore, it's illogical economically. On the political side as well, Israel realizes that there is a risk of Israel existence widespread in Gaza. Therefore, there is a security obstacle. There is an international rejection for this plans, and an Egyptian rejection for this plans for displacement. And even if we tackle divisions in a way or another, so therefore there are a lot of obstacles. Of course, the U.S. Despite its continuous support, there was no great welcoming for this plans for divisions and displacement.
Ms. Abdelaziz, you've mentioned that the international community would be refusing such a suggestion, but then how will the international community respond on the ground to the humanitarian crisis, the ongoing hostilities, to what also the critics are describing as concentration-like humanitarian city?
In the European side, and they always stand by Israeli side, but now we can find there is a big changes on the European Union. There were announcements of the German Chancellor stating their rejection for Israeli plans, their decline for this approach, their observation to Israel's to the relation with Israel in this regard. And there is a huge issue in regards to this on the German side. On the other side, France as well expressed previously its conservations on the acts made by Israel, and to hold those who are responsible accountable for what is taking place. And as well as there is reports mentioning that Trump gave Netanyahu a duration to wrap up the peace negotiations with Qatar. There is an international momentum towards the new Israeli plans, and there is now a change of narratives in the European reports in regards to what is taking place in Gaza. For example, we can find a new term used for the first time, which is genocide, mass carnage. We can find looking in arms selling deals, and there is a movement in the UK Parliament to have petitions signed by the UK Parliament in assessing relations with Israel and the British stance towards Israel. So there is an international momentum in regards to viewing what Israel is doing right now, and plans and measures taken by Israel in the future.
There's been some talk about the ceasefire negotiations, saying they are close. Now, what are the main obstacles preventing a breakthrough in the Gaza ceasefire talks?
Until now, the negotiations are still ongoing, and the foreign ministry, Qatar foreign ministry spokesman says that the negotiations are still going on and there's no problems, because they even said that there's deadlock in the negotiations, but there is no withdrawal or such. However, there was no pause or for any talks or any of that. So there is a push to a breakthrough. The negotiations are going on. I think the main obstacle here in front of continuing or resuming the talks is Netanyahu himself or his government. Although there is a lot of indicators pushing Netanyahu to accept the deal and to achieve or fulfill ceasefire and allow humanitarian aid delivery, and despite the international pressure and Egypt's serious efforts to embrace all the parties and the Netanyahu's stubbornness in front of the deal, and despite all the troublemaking in trying to hinder the growth of the deal, of the negotiations, the problem is still in Netanyahu. Maybe at the end he will be forced to accept the deal because it may be the end of all of these obstacles. But he has other ways to go around it. He has other plans to earn more time in order to achieve more goals on ground, draw a new reality on ground. For example, to redraw Israel's approach that was really harmed on the ground.
Well, there have been a lot of changes and developments in the political spectrum in Israel. So to what extent is Netanyahu's coalition politics influencing the pace or the outcome of the negotiations?
I think Netanyahu, as I explained previously, is in a very difficult situation. He had the religious coalition, which is a part of his coalitive government, but now the voices he had in Knesset is equal to opposing votes, which were very strong against Netanyahu, now accusing him that all of the steps he's taking right now are wrong, are unaccountable, and leading Israel to more problems. So I think he is in a very difficult position. He wants to pertain the religious coalition in his relationship to the far right party, and at the same time he is trying to have new cards to play with on the table of negotiations. He's in a very difficult position. In the upcoming period we will see more clearance around his stance. Would it be closer to the right party stance, or would he take new different steps as accepting the deal that that was refused by the right party as already?
And how could the U.S. pressure influence Israel's decision on troop redeployment then in Gaza?
I think yes, there is a lot of issues tackled between Netanyahu and Trump, but there were some files Trump didn't approve. As I said previously, the U.S. administration and the policy making circuits in the U.S. didn't approve or didn't welcome the Israeli new plans in regards to humanitarian city, and there was no real concern to support logistically this plan. So if Trump was keen on in ending or completing this agreement, there will be a real steps on ground to do this. And as I said previously, maybe Netanyahu will receive will accept the deal or may make other steps to avoid it later, as what happened on the previous truce on
Yes.
January 19th.